in that way so that we can understand what our work in future should be holds. And thank you very much for the organizers. We could get the access to the presentations, and we saw that the material which we have prepared is by 80% is the same, is kind of the same as the other colleagues' presentations. So today we are going to get this discussion in within our colleagues and discuss all the perspectives here in the regional network of flights. I know that all of the speakers have a wide set of problems and topics they want to mention. But anyways, I suggest you to speak in such a way so that we could ask all the questions and discuss all of the reports. So in the aviation, the main thing is order, and we need to regulate everything. So I ask Lyudmila Pimenova to present her report. Can you hear us, Lyudmila?
Подскажите, пожалуйста, она с нами?
Are you here with us? Is there a connection? Yes, there is a connection, but it doesn't seem to work. So, okay, let's start with another colleagues from the Russian security system, and then we will get back to our colleagues from the Russian aviation system. So thank you very much, dear colleagues. Thank you, guests of the Republic. Yeah, our experience isn't that great as of now, but we have made our decision that we need to exploit the airplane network. By 2021, Radi Khabirov has ordered to buy a helicopter, and 32, which is produced here in Kumirtau factory. We needed to get it because in 2021, as you can see on the slide, the amount of forest fires has risen, especially in the Ural area, and we have decided that we have not enough of the forces of our forces on the ground, especially in the mountain region. So we have decided to get one of these helicopters. Here on the slide you can see it. So a lot of colleagues, not only in the Russian Federation but in some other countries, have had this experience of using such things, but the machinery that we got was unique in many ways. Then we are going to tell you why it's unique and how we exploit it and what are the problems with the exploitation. So now we are going to see a short video on how we used this helicopter in the 2 years that have passed.
Спасибо. Ну, как вы
Thank you very much. So, as you can see, we have used it as for monitoring of the floods and some of the dangerous parts on the Republic regions, rivers. And also we used it in the period of forest fires, to extinguish, to put off the fire, and also we used it to put off the technogenic fires, such as in area of Iglino, Infa, and we used it to rescue citizens who have been lost in the forests, etc. And also we had a forest fire this year in Beoretsk Rayon, Beoretsk district, when the fire extinguishing crew was lost in the forest, and they had not didn't have any possibility to be rescued. So we used this helicopter, and we were able to save 12 people from this situation. When exploiting this helicopter, we have faced such problems. Since our republic is very big and we need to efficiently exploit the helicopter, we need to get water. So we use the system SP32, so we can get a pumping device, and using it we can get the water. The next, we need some fuel, a big fuel tank, and this is a problem. This is a big problem since our helicopter is in the airport of the Ufa city, and we usually work with the forest fires in the Zaurali district in mountain regions, and we don't really know where to refuel. And we have a disagreement with the Magnitogorsk airport. This is a city in the region of Bashkortostan. And with Kumirtau, some Kumirtau factories and also some airports of the subjects of Russian Federation. Moreover, if we take a look at the map, for example, we have Beloretsk, Sibay, Uchulu, etc. The regions with the most quantity of the forest fires, and they are pretty distant from Ufa, and it takes at least 1/2 an hour, and you only have 30 minutes to go there. So in order to resolve this question, we bought a refueling system, which is in Sibay city. It's 5 tons, and right now it's not our problem anymore. We also see that in the future we will need some stationary platforms, helicopter platforms, which will have a refueling system. And if we speak about the goals of using such aviation, sanitary and rescue helicopters, we think that optimal places in which we can have such platforms
можно было пользоваться?
So in Soviet Republic we had such developed system and we could use it. So today we are trying to renew this this airport in Sibay and in Neftekamsk, which is the most important for us nowadays. Next in Beoretsk, Uchалы and Pirsk. These are some places in which we need to renew these airport platforms, and which will help us to extinguish forest fires and be able to do it efficiently enough. This is the second slide in which we have some objects which are currently in the conservation. And I would also like to say about the positive experience of other subjects of the Russian Federation. For example, in the Republic of Tatarstan, they have this experience that they have in every municipal region some helicopter platforms, and they can use such helicopter platforms for various reasons. And I think that we need to renew some of our platforms and have certified platforms and refueling systems,
Заправки.
and have an access to refuel our helicopters in order to be able to rescue equipment, etc. Thank you very much for such a profound report. It, it's really important, and these scenarios of usage are very important, and we discuss it very often, and we are speaking about making some drones. And currently in Sibai, there was held a event on this topic. And I asked our colleagues, and they said, yes, we have a set of questions we face right now with the monitoring and some local problems with extinguishing. But anyways, we have this problem of volume. We need to know what kind of volume we're facing currently. And we need to know what kind of network we are needing to. And who are the consumers, and what kind of equipment we need, and if we need further growth of our fleet, and how you see this project. Thank you very much for the question. I think that all of the world and the Russian Federation are developing of this air fleet, and today, as of today, we are exploiting 2 helicopters of sanitary aviation and 1 of extinguishing. We need 1 more extinguishing helicopter. But then, speaking about development of the aviation, so we have some light drones, so-called light drones, and I think we are going to be able to use bigger drones, and this is a direction which is very important for us, and I think that we are going to get some more and export some more, both helicopters and drones. Thank you very much. The colleagues are telling that Людмила Sergeyevna has joined us. Colleagues, are you here? So Людмила Pimenova has joined us. Людмила Pimenova, can you hear us? Yes, I can hear you. So we are giving you the floor to present your colleagues. Good morning.
С третьей попытки нам удалось, так что никакие враги нам не помешают в проведении этого довольно важного мероприятия с учетом и текущей ситуации, и вообще потребности в развитии авиации в целом и легкой малой авиации в частности, как в рамках нашей страны, так
So I didn't manage to be able to broadcast it, but anyways, now I'm here with you. So good morning once again. I had the topic of smaller sized airports. I'm going to cover this topic a little bit, but this topic is a little bit complicated, and I think the development is not that efficient. And this is why I'm going to tell you why. So in Soviet Union, previously, there was quite a lot smaller airports. It was dedicated to being able to be connected to the regions, and it was financed by the government. And we had 1,400 of such airports mostly they were in some further regions in which there is no other means of transportation. As of today, in the Privolzhsky federal region, there are becoming less and less smaller airports. It's mostly in the north regions, in subsidiary transportation. So in the Republic of Bashkortostan, as of today, we have a lot of federal transportations, a lot of routes, but we don't have any smaller airport which is saved, preserved today. So here I would like to note that I have a little presentation, and you can see the statistics, and you can see the figures on the airports and the platforms in the Privolzhsky Federальный округ district. We had, and as of today, we have this passenger transportations. We don't do it anymore. Today, on the area of the Republic of Bashkortostan, we have functioning one airport, and we also have some platforms, some landing platforms. As of today, landing platforms are only used for the training flights and for the basing of the flights, which are making some non-governmental flights. And this is the direction in which we are going to discuss it. So if we are speaking that we are developing the airport network, we have the same requirements as the aerodrome requirements. And it's not rational to spend such a lot of money to get the certifications right and to meet the requirements for the aerodrome. But if we get our needs met, if we use it for passenger transportations, we need to develop our smaller transportation, which is also a commercial transportation. And if we use it for all of the other purposes and for tourism, for training flights, and if we concentrate on these goals, it's enough to get just a landing platform. We only need the requirements are not that severe these days. You just need to meet the minimal requirements. And I would also like to know that we regularly, on the territory of the Northern Territory, we have these aerodromes which are used for passengers transportation, are used as landing platforms since the aerodromes are not needed. And we don't need to meet other requirements. So if we are going in this course, I think we are going to be developing much more rapidly and more efficiently.
Because we can limitlessly speak about the requirements about the legislation that's got to be changed and simplified, but we speak about that for 10 years now, but there are no movements in that direction. So change these paths to aerodrome is once the demands will be adequate and the requirements and the flights performing on these runways in this airport, probably it's not going to make any troubles. So what about the size? If we gonna speak about all the types of flights that I mentioned before, you have to take into consideration one serious thing. We don't have requirements in terms of runways. and the construction around them. So if the airdrome is developing its territory, there are different areas, and these special areas have limitations for using the ground or the land. Of course, yes, aviation is somewhere up there, but for the safe usage of the airspace and for the safe takeoff and for different maneuvering, we must in the areas of airstrips that gets projected on the ground, this should not be over-constructed. There should not be no obstacles. That's in terms of safety. And the second, we should understand that if more dense the construction becomes, it's harder gets to start exploiting the runway and takeoff strip. Because there are people who live in these towns, whether it's big or not. So that's why it's really hard to find a balance. So as for today, if we analyze in that relation, I got conducted not from the beginning, but I have a remark for the previous speaker. In terms of Tatarstan, they not just determine that every municipal determines the objections, the object.
Не осуществлять массовую застройку, и на перспективу эти земли
With the different objectives and goals. So using it, so as for today, to make a revision, to understand how many landing strips will be required to see the demands of the citizens of the cities,
и эти земли в определенной степени
to see the perspective, and we have to reserve these lands. So in the future, we could develop the aviation later. That's a really thin ice, but these are the things that has to be done, because we have faced such problems that even with locals, that they were living there for hundreds of years, and that the sounds and the noise, plane noises, are irritate the locals. So that's why these problems need to be solved. So according to the world experience, if we're going to speak about the development of the airport, smaller airstrips all over the countries, all over other countries, they're usually wasteful, and they get dated.
там, где нет никаких альтернатив,
When there is no alternative, the subsidiaries are not understandable. Like the airports of Yakutia, and some of the airports get into a network, and they get of different alternative means of transportation, but I doubt that we can hope on it. So that's why, if there's going to be a decision to be made, that development and the trouble of maintaining the work of these airports, even now, if these lands going to be reserved at some point, then we'll know how we can develop them. But if there is a situation that we decided, yes, we're going to create the airport, we took a look around and decided to build it 100 kilometers away from the closest living megapolis. May I just speak about another speaker about the autopiloting system? Of course, the autopilots and the programs and strategies have already been accepted today, and even in the Republic of Bashkortostan and on the territory of our region, of the area. The construction and usage in the exploitation of the smaller and bigger planes, or development and testing and implementation into the economy of the transportation, like in Samara region, or just agricultural aviation. In 4 regions, we have special experimental legislation regimes that will gonna work later, and that's what I was gonna say. Since starting with the 1st of March of 2024, we have a new law coming, the changes in the federal law of the usage of the aerospace that changes drastically the system of usage of the airplanes, and of big airplanes and small airplanes, the mass of which is 30 plus.
Уже авиационный персонал, который ими управляет,
and maintaining the personnel and the certificates of quality. So there are going to be special regimes that will be established for the airspace. And once the pilotless, pilot aircrafts will be implemented, we need to understand, to establish the synergy between the piloting machinery and autopilot machinery, and on the development of such airdromes that are located in Subai, Neftekams, that do not have even the status of the airport. And we could implement it actively in these regions and start developing simultaneously, dynamically, piloting aircrafts and the autopilot aircrafts. That moment I suggested to be discussed. We have some time until March, and we have some regions that keep working constantly on this topic. We even with the Rosavia, and we're trying to establish these areas, and if they're gonna, as we may say, piloting aviation, if we will get the agreement, we can continue the work in that approach. So if you have any other questions, or if you want me to pay your attention something else, please proceed. Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, do you have any questions? So if you may, we would like to thank you for such a huge report. Beside the different regions of the Russian Federation, we will be glad to hear the representatives of Rosavia and colleagues that work with the drones. They also received the complaints that we are on the same path, and on the side of our own or the aerospace, I would like to say that in different regions we cover these problems and issues. Some are successful, some are not, and sometimes we see, unfortunately, that the problem is not on the side of the regulative or the legislation, but it's a problem in the absence of information for the people who have heard about some things but haven't read it or seen it, and they have no understanding. So we hope that in the future we could change these problems in the future with your help. So thank you very much, and we hope for your support and the topic of development of the airstrips and the airplane pads in the region. So thank you very much. Thank you. So colleagues, we have head from the Ministry of the Republic of Bashkortostan, Gleb Borisovich, please, can you take the floor? Can you please switch on the slides? Good afternoon, dear colleagues. I'd like to start my report with with the questions of development of aviation, smaller aviation, commercial and non-commercial, including it was included into agenda up to 2030 that was conducted under the control of head of the Republic. So among other questions of social economy, development and construction and the healthcare system, we regarded the question of developing of the smaller aircraft, smaller aviation. If we say briefly, our main questions are in that direction are following: that in recreation the cities, the recreation of the airports in Belarus, Neftekamsk, Sibai cities. But the question regards not only in the terms of recreation or the usage of the airstrips and the use of these airstrips for the drones, because the already in the hands of state airdromes get not used. That's bad. So keep developing the helipads in Ufa. We have a few helipads in Ufa, and they keep appearing since 2020. It's and one of the main issues is the increasing the amount of aircraft, because the direction that was taken before is these are Boeings and Airbuses. It showed that we need to have our own machinery. That's why developing of the smaller aviation nowadays, we used to fly on the other seas and different.
А без них решать вопросы по посадочным площадкам
On the sites, it's just not common sense question, because before flying we need to understand what to fly on, and these things say that we need having planes means that we need to get back to other questions, even on the basis of the smaller aircraft. And the legislation that in order to create a company, we need to have the same types of aircraft. It was discussed with the manufacturers, and another important question that gets lost a little in the it's the human resource issue, because the system that we used to have on the educating the other pilots in years of perestroika since the 90s and 2000 reduced drastically by 10 and hundreds of times, and that the issue that need to be solved a little bit, because the problem has to be discussed broadly and from every perspective. And I would like to say that on the territorial republic, as you can see on the screen now, this is the list that says that once in Republic of Bashkortostan there was 40 types of different pads and airstrips, and we had the helipads, and we had the sites that were reserved by the Ministry of the Military of the Russian Federation. And in 2030, we had the work. 2014, the Ministry of Defense checked the reserved land in the Republic of Bashkortostan. But in general, I can say that in Russia there are 5,500 such sites that are not used. And the effect that was because there are different types of means of transportation that was created. First of all, it was cars. It means that the reduction was drastic. And all airdromes we have now is airport Ufa and the Pervushina airport. So what shall we do? And that's why in this case that question was put here for the session, and that question was also included into prospective development of Republic of Bashkortostan. So what's the point of it? Demand and the people that do the yes, and it's a little early to speak about. And with that, Ministry of Transportation have created a roadmap on development of the Russian aviation. And here, the topics that I'd like to determine, first of all, is the legislation base. Whereas really hardly that was written in blood, as you may say. They determined the main parameters of development of because the aviation that gets developed so it can maintain. And the infrastructure is also really important because so the roadmap suggests to make the revision. So I had a colleague from the Ministry of Emergency. There are problems with the refueling of different types of problems, but I think we should have some anchor sites. So in order to determine them, we need to gather the opinions of different government authorities, because on the first stage of the development of the smaller airports and airstrips, we need to have anchor strips and equip it with according to the requirements. We have regulations on construction of the helipads and the airdromes, and etc. So, according these questions these issues has to be solved probably by commission. And we check the experience of other countries and other regions, what approaches do they take. And one of the solution was made this revision to create norms and basis of creation based on subsidiary with local municipals in order to create the airstrips. So as for now, these issues, we can leave that topic a little bit behind. Many of these issues, most of these issues in Western countries and abroad belong to private companies, etc., etc., etc. And other issues are usually solved by the private companies. That's a good approach and a good strategy, because government cannot always keep in mind. And about the and of course another question is the park of the amount of quantity of the aircraft. So if that's it, you may feel free to ask any questions. We have a lot of questions, and you do you have any turns? And
Вопрос, говорят так, сломать всегда легко.
The system that was existing in 5,500 of airship that roam Russia, and thank God if there are only 500 of them left in Russia. this time frame can expand up to 10 years. But I think we can discuss and solve the basic problems. My name is Kuznetsov Evgeny. I'm a private entrepreneur. You said.
Коллеги, но если
So, dear colleagues, if you can make a comment on this human resources issue, yes, we got this. We got what you're meaning. We're going to answer this question. So, Oleg Borisovich has answered a lot of interesting questions, and these are some topics and theses on which we are going to speak. The question of these airports and landing strips is very interesting, and human resources issue is also very interesting. And I also have a very like a vast array of questions arising, and I would also like to discuss it all. We have a different structure of such institutions, and of the institutions which prepare people for the human resources for such fields, and taking in consideration all of the things, all the problems we are facing now. And I also think that we have a lot of people here in our country that have a specialty, and they are not approached to. So this is also an issue. And we not only need to prepare new people that know about this specialty, but we need to get back to the people who are already experienced. And I think that we have changed our approach on preparing such human resources. Such as in Soviet Union, we had another types of aviation and another types of licenses. For example, if you want to fly a Boeing or a bus or some regular aviation, you need to prepare for 5 years, and also you need to fly for 200 hours. You can be a second pilot. Yeah, as a second pilot. But if you
жизнь летаешь, но
have been flying for your whole life, and if you haven't checked, it's not a question. It's more like a commentary. It's. I think we think in the same direction. It's more of a question which we are going to discuss here as a working issue. There are different proverbs which show our situation.
сети и так далее, которые
If we have this network which we had in Soviet Union, but we're not going to get back to it like in a time frame of tomorrow, for example. But anyways, we are going to get back to such a level of passenger flights and commercial flights, etc. But anyways, I think that the demand creates supply, so this is why I don't agree. Sometimes we have it's vice versa. We can't estimate our demand in the location in which we can't use such transportation means. We can try to make some estimation, but we only can guess pretty much. So thank you very much for answering this question. Do you have more questions? Yeah, colleagues, we have some other colleagues who are going to present the reports, and I think that we have some time to speak after the event, so we can discuss our following reports, and then you can ask your questions. You will be given the opportunity, the speakers will be given the opportunity to present their reports. We were speaking about the city by city, and I would like Azamat Murzgalevich to show his view, his own view, in which he sees like the importance of the airport in the Sibai city. Harlikon, which is good morning, good day, dear participants. It was a pleasure that the Ross Aviation has spoken about our airport, that they hadn't forgotten about it, and that we are working on it currently, and that we are working here in the Sabantu event. I don't think that our airport is that bad because in 2010 and 2010-ish, we had some renovations. So, city of Sibay is a cultural center of Bashkir Zauralia, region Zauralia.
Численность населения всего Зауралья.
We have 317,000 people in Sibay living currently here in the region of Zauralia.
Специфика его географического расположения.
And our development is related heavily to our geographical points. The scale of our city, we are away from Ufa by a very large distance. And also here in the Zauralia district, we have other cities in a distance of 521. And for example, Orenburg is quite a distant one. Orenburg is in 600 kilometers, so it's pretty far away. So we need to learn about the potential, and we have this poll in our media, social media. We had a poll, if we had an airport in Sibay, were you going to use their services? There were 3,700 people, and 79% answered positively. So yes, they were going to use our airport. And the amount of the people who are positive, it's about 80%. Then, these are some data on the passenger transportation in 10 years. We have autobus transportation, taxiing, etc. We have Sibay-Ufa or Ufa-Sibay autobus routes. We also have international transportation, and we also have taxi services. The most popular destination is Ufa. It's about 37,800 passengers, which is quite a lot. We also have this Khanty-Mansiysk region. In 10 months, we had about 5,500 passengers, which is about 10% of all the people using this. This is mainly the people who are going to the shifts. And we also have this taxi services. A lot of people are using it. The reason this is popular is that the destination isn't that far, and it doesn't take a lot of time. For example, it's 4 to 5 hours, and it's not that expensive, from 300 to 5,000 rubles. But yesterday's weather conditions show that we either need railway transportation or aviation transportation, because sometimes there are the days in which you can't use the bus or taxi. to drive because it's impossible. So railway transportation is 1.6 of the volume of our passenger transportation, and average cost in 10 months is 128, and it's average. And if we had 15 or 17 parts railway trains, now we have 4 parts trains. The main directions of Сибай transportations. The main one is the Chelyabinsk region, Kazakhstan. We have Sibay Ufa, and also we are building new routes, which are going to be to develop the growth of our routes in this region. Then I'm going to give some more figures on the Sibay airport. It was launched in 1957, and it's about 200. It was launched in 1994, and it's available for a lot of air devices, and it's quite a wide too, quite a wide line too. It's 37 meters.
авиационного топлива емкость.
And it has quite a big fuel tank too. It can get 2 large planes at the same time. We have
Аэровокзал введен в эксплуатацию.
The airport was launched in 1957, and it can get up to 200 passengers per hour. We also have the availability of night flights, and it hasn't been used since 2003 to 2010. In 2010, according to Bashkortostan government,
На 2009-2020 годы проведен
we have made some renewing exploitation works, and this object has been launched into exploitation in July of. So the RKM company has made a test flight on the plane L10, which is a passenger transportation to Ufa city. It was renewed in 2010, but then we once again didn't have any flights. The current problems. In order to make the renewing works, we need more than 1 billion rubles. We need to resolve human resources issue. We need to get new consultants and personnel, and we need to renew. We need to get 2 more planes of the local airlines of the second category, and of the series N. The organization of this aviation, we need to get 2 or 3 to 4 aircrafts, vehicles, in order to help us provide these services. The airport of Sibay is an important social factor in development of the city of Sibay. In order to, on the initiative of the Ufa airport, we are launching this airport once again.
что у нас территория
So since the area is more is more prone to have forest fires and to have droughts, we need this aviation and sanitary aviation too. And since we use some forest resources in the Uralia region,
То шелкопряд, то
we have also been facing some issues, such as pests and all of these things in the Zauralia regions. So if we need to get our working people to the ore formations, we also have many people working in shifts who are using the airports in Ufa and Magnitogorsk. But if we had these direct flights, it would have been really, really useful.
пересадочного
Making this transportation like so-called hub to use PPL, we have already discussed it on the Sabantu event. I hope this is going to get us off the stalemate. And we are going to build some new routes, and this is an ongoing project. We are working on it currently, and if this building starts, we will need this aviation really bad. Our region is very abundant in good touristic destinations. But since they are hard to reach in the Uralia,
ландшафт открыт порой только для легкомоторного.
sometimes you can only get there by helicopters, etc. For example, it's Arkaim, waterfall Gadalsha. But if we had this touristic aviation, we could have had income from it. And if you take it into account all of the touristic destinations, and if we could build such an air hub, we could have a great potential. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah, some of the questions were related to this year, and we are on the final stage of discussing our national project and how we are going to work with it. And some of the modules which are discussed actively is how unmanned service, unmanned equipment and machinery, and if we are going to be able to make this network of on-ground transportation to make and to get these unmanned airplanes, to get to use them, and so we are working interregionally to solve this problem. And now we are having this roadmap of this project.
К тому самому тяжелому беспилотнику, о котором говорили.
To move forward to the heavy drones that was discussed before. So, dear colleagues, we talked a lot about the state support, about the personnel, and I would like to ask the Sergei Georgievich to give a comment about because we need to understand who's going to prepare the personnel and the workforce. So, dear colleagues, if you would like to, please, can you give us the clicker? Thank you. Thank you. Please. Good afternoon, dear colleagues. My name is Sergei Benegulov. I'm the president of the Aviation of Russia. In Peruvian, I have our base, we're the vice president in Moscow, and I'd like to say everything. I'll be optimistic because we're doing that for 15 years in Bashkiria already. The only thing that aviation that you need to understand, it's a really expensive thing, because some years aviation was just more accessible but it wasn't cheaper. The plane wasn't cheaper, nor was the petroleum. Everything was used to the army and the different directions, but we changed our concept. We left the.
Давайте мы определимся с глоссарием, да, просто.
So, and let's understand the rules of the dialogue is the rule of the glossary. There is no term as aviation. It's just a compilation of in order to understand.
Оно просто понятнее. Ну, малая авиация.
Smaller aviation just makes clear what is because there are lots of aircrafts. Because in law uses the terms commercial, non-commercial. I'm not going to use like extra heavy or extra light. And we do the transportation of passengers, and B, we do the aviational works. We have 9 is the aviation chemical, aerophotography, and the other means of connection is sanitary aviation, and air and visual. And there is a non-commercial sector that I am representing, the aviation of common.
Коммерческой перевозки пассажиров и выполнение
Of,
условно говоря, это что? Авиашоу, пилотажные группы, авиационные. Там примерно около там 15.
there are 15. So we need to understand what basics do we have for today to keep developing it for in Bashkir, because here in Republic Bashkortostan is big, is 143,600 kilometers square. We just have 550 to south and 430 kilometers to north. Let's make clear and understand, because I'm a aviational psychiatrist and lawyer, and that site that says that it used not more than 30 days per month. It's not a transportational safety.
Посадочный.
According to the law 14.42, and we say it's the next step that gets used to every year, and unlimited. It can be used a lot, and it's in the airdrome is another topic. They have their own territory, but I just like to say that the airstrip also has territory. It's a sanitary protection territory, and you have to understand it clearly. And the problem of aviation is that, and as the president can say that, even among the aviational specialists, we can see that there is a lack of understanding of the law, and they don't quite understand. And beside the air law, there are federal aviational laws and rules, and there are lots of rules, and it's a lot of books and. And by the 2035, there is a question of development of the keeping the airstrips, and then we have by the established by the Ministry of Transportation, and of course. We need to develop the commercial and non-commercial sector, because to understand the numbers, let's talk numbers. Commercial number, like planes and helicopters, it's 1,500 for a country, and all over the world
чем военного и коммерческого.
Of the commercial and the military machinery. And everything is up to. And what are the strategy of development of the aviation Republic of Bashkortostan? Because the first thing is to transport the passengers by using the bigger planes. And Chelyabinsk region also divides the highways and roads. Jurisdically, they use roads in Chelyabinsk. We also take into consideration the Ufa airport and Magnitogorsk airport. Can
Я там в день, в год на своем самолете налетываю там по 15 тысяч километров, и мы реально путешествуем, и прилетая куда-то, мы тем самым развиваем инфраструктуру. И в Башкирии мы ежегодно делаем большие перелеты.
and we do
Там у нас разные программы, и грантовые политики, и все прочее. Далее предоставление услуг в местах туристической привлекательности. Ну, Сибайский карьер.
So what about the Sibay region? Sibay Pit and the regional aviation companies. Why I drew Baikal? Because we're expecting for 16 units. But aviation has the basic airplanes that keeps developing. Because Soviet Union had the plane AN-2, and the newer ones are looks almost the same. They have in common the same engines and the same system, but system of the maintenance changed not that much. We never had
Самолета малой авиации вместимостью до 50 мест. Никогда за всю историю современной России. Байкал
Baikal. It was the first 9-seated plane. And developing the Aviation and Educational Center, and I am director of the Aviation and Educational Center. Next is the production of the aviational machinery. Next is the aviational works, making air shows. And this year I every year more than 100 planes and more than 20,000 spectators gather around to look at the shows. So these are the things that can be cultivated in Bashkortostan. In terms of transportation of passengers, we need to understand that today we're following, but without air companies, we won't go anywhere because we need the air companies. Yes, it's a very complicated process. I'm not sure if the private company can conduct this amount of work, and it's very expensive. That's why we're hoping into support of the state, because we're working closely with the Ministry of Transportation. Me as the president, I do interact with everyone, everywhere in the country.
Я думаю, что когда машина начнется производиться,
And once it's gonna be produced, I think we'll receive more than 180 million. I do believe that we can cover main spots with these planes, and I think the prospective places are Neftekamsk, Beloretsk, then we have Sibay and Akyar, because the edge of it is Akyar, where we could get the soiled airdrome. But of course, there are other regions, because today we have a bad connection with Perm, because I have a private jet and I fly to Perm in 1 hour 45 minutes.
с пересадками, это приключение.
That's a
И, значит, такое же приключение.
That's the same adventure that it's Yekaterinburg. Train goes for 14 hours, 16 hours. Sorry.
Не менее интересное приключение.
And the Orenburg is also quite interesting adventure in terms of travel. And here is the list of places that I go to in Bashkiria. We have Burtyan, interesting place, 30 meters of concrete, old Subhangulova, old cave, Sugantash, all the roads that used to work for 20 years. That's another adventure. And you can shoot another Indiana Jones adventure action movie. And me and the head of, the Minister of Tourism, Abzalov Rustem Mezakirovich, this year we flew there with 8 planes just to visit the museum. So with why we're talking about the Pervushina airdrome, I have 32 planes based in the airdrome, and we started only with 3 in 2011. That's why what is necessary for the non-commercial sector to reserve, we discussed that with Oleg Borisovich, to expel the construction on these territories, and we want a little help with the branches of our aviation centers, because our center is we have 5 programs of launching. I have 114 places for aircraft. We cook it every year, every day, every night, every week, always. And I'm really optimistic, and I believe that it is possible to make. And I want you to know that aviation is always expensive. So you understand that Wright brothers that invented the first plane, they almost robbed all the village. And only after they decided to create a plane, and only after it flew. It was there, but it always was expensive. And the local aviation is always datational. And third, it's always regulated. It has a lot of requirements. And fifth, of course, people with resources can manage to do this work. Only I've been working for 25 years, and I keep education, keep studying ever since. Thank you. Wow, people probably are surprised. 32 oligarchs gathered there. Wow, it's all there, but it's impossible. You know, if me as a person, if I'm interested in one thing, I also try to make other people to be interested as well. I'm sorry, Samara. You know, because people are too serious. So probably it's not that expensive if we're gonna transfer it to the rubles. And as for nowadays, equivalent is a bit different. Well, and you can fly.
Никто не заставляет одному владеть самолетом, да, есть совместное владение.
You can fly without any problems. And it's and we need to understand that every person needs to have a high qualification if he wants to fly. He has to be motivated, and he needs to understand that he needs it, and he is ready to go. And that's the reality. And probably we could have motivated a couple of people and nobody complained, but the opinion is different. Like, yeah, it is possible to make it, and it's possible to come here and solve some issues and problems. And there are a lot of people that are interested in it, and a lot of people keep working, just they earn money to keep flying.
Будет искренне счастлив, что ему позволили это делать. И те самые авиационные...
And if we are going to attract such people, we know that they will perform their work with joy. But we need to understand that there are a lot of movements, and that's an interesting growing area in the position with Russian aviation. And to give example that piloting is from neighboring regions, not only regions that they can all fly and release their own ideas in projects. And our colleagues also mentioned that there are a lot of beautiful and interesting places. Then that task is interesting in itself as well. Why can't we just pick up your own friend and take a plane and carry him around, fly him around, and then for example, if the person likes to explain about the local beauties, like what's happening and what people are doing. And sometimes there are questions for these people. If it was legal, it would seem that a lot of people and not people, but a lot of moments and problems probably would have been solved, and the airdromes would have become a bit profitable. But we are hoping that we can, in continuation, in frames of continuation of our session. Thank you very much. So, dear colleagues, we have a CEO of Russian Aviatoperov, Dmitry Irikovich. Please have a floor. CEO for Savia Aviation Company, LLC. So we're giving the floor to a professional so you can criticize us amateurs. Thank you. So good day, everyone. Thank you for invitation, and I'll start probably about, since without not understanding, and a couple of speakers said that we don't have our own aviation company, that we don't have our own planes, and etc., etc. And I would like to say that for the 10th or 100th time, when I get invited, that we do have. I represent the Rosavia and Light Airna companies. There are two different types of names, but basically it's the same. We used to call it Ufimsky Avialinii, Ufa Airlines, and now we're changing it to Bashkiria Airlines. Probably is because you heard, why I mentioned, because you heard of it. In 2003, Bashkiria Airlines was divided into two companies, and don't want to discuss whether it was good or not on the reduction of the small aviation. But the group of people, including me, decided to hold to it, and that's why, to be honest, we have our own basis for the air company, and we did the transportation of passengers. But as it was mentioned, as today it was mentioned, it can exist only thanks to support, and sometimes there are no supports, and that's why we don't have such this amount of transportation. As for today, we work on the 11 planes and a couple of dozen of helicopters, and we're existing but if not the state and. We use the K-26 helicopters and other planes, Ansat helicopter, and we have huge experience, 6-year experience of working with the drones, innovative drones, and we're working on the territory of the Republic of Bashkortostan, and we do have it as well. And some people say that we don't. And my topic is the problem of forming of orders for the small aviation services, and I would like to tell about that. Officially, we don't have this terminology as the small aviation, but Sergei Minigulov explained it in details, and he also divided it correctly to commercial and non-commercial, and even Sergei does, in my understanding, does really with the necessary thing, developing the non-commercial business. But as for us, we try not to develop, but keep and save the commercial parts of the aviation. And the commercial part is not cheap as well. It's even more expensive than the non-commercial. And as for today, our companies work more than 200 personnel with an average of middle salary payment in Ufa. We work all over Russia, starting since Sochi in Rosa Khutor, in Sochi, since Vladimir Putin liked the place, and now there is a huge touristic and sports facility. And according to his order, aerial photo shooting was done by our company. Sorry, Dmitry Yurikovich. You can change the slides, and we have to sum it up a little bit faster because we are running out of time. Well, okay, you see, we don't have time later, but we can discuss some things later, you know. Well, we're working all over Russia, starting with Sochi and finishing with Chukotka. 2 helicopter R-44 works in forest, and they do the watching, overwatch. 100% of all aerial works are done on the territory of Russia. How many percent in Republic of Bashkortostan? How do you think? 0. What I mean in that is, what is Rosavia company? Unfortunately, it happened only this year, but I hope it will change. Up to next year, following year, we worked actively with Ministry of Healthcare Ministry, with the Agricultural Ministry, Forest Ministry, with different structures that can be that do aerial photo shooting, like touristic areas. And what else you want me to say? But getting back to my basics of my report, if the problem in the agreements or in the contracts or in making the aviational work, performing aviational work, of course there is such a problem. And I found 3 of them. First of all, it's understandable, but on the other hand, it's unusual to hear. It's economic issue that aviational work inside the region and inside the country in general, without participation of states and government, it can't keep developing. And I'd say that commercial, regular passenger transportation today, state gives more than 100 billion rubles for developing, but for solving the aerial things that we receive nada, 0. State do not want us to exist, government, but we keep pushing. Why? Because these works are very necessary, and the government itself also needs that.
Все остальное. Вот. И очень нужны, конечно, крупным госкорпорациям. Но чтобы...
We need the huge companies in order to keep developing the economy of the country in general. That amount of aviational work that exists, it's not enough. And correcting that situation or that branch of aviation, we have been forgotten. So, but somehow government still uses it, even though it doesn't like us. And the companies like Transneft, Gasneft, Gazprom. And we would like all the other businesses to use these means of services, and without support of states, we cannot exist and work. And that even for the huge business, for example, our huge factory, aviation manufacturer plant kept working. Давай ты, пожалуйста.
Of course, the citizens, if they use, as Sergey said, they can buy their own aerial measures of transportation, or they are going to head to us. And the first reason is the economy, and the second one is that we usually don't get this legislation right. As we have spoken today before, the aviation is quite legally binding segment of economy and business, and to regulate, we need to have a lot of laws. And we can really speak, we are speaking which is right and which is wrong. But we say that we need to make this regulation, but we don't need to facilitate it. We need to make it more available. It's not available as of now, but we have it. And I'm going to speak to the government and to the branch which regulates it, which has made it really tricky. And now they are not going to explain it to us, and I'm not going to stop and explain all in the details and all of these companies such as Rosnadzor and transportational services. In between, they understand these documents and they read it differently. And I'm not even speaking about how we understand it as a community, because they don't even understand it themselves. This is what makes it even more difficult, and it makes it can be seen as a tomfoolery. And we have a lot of such people here in our republic, and I'm not going to judge them, even though probably you could judge them too. But anyways, I think that the main problem is that the legislation is really tricky, and it's not legally it's not enforced easily. I am 100% to completing, but we need to understand this legislation and on the governmental level come to a unique agreement, ubiquitous agreement, and then to change it a little bit. The third reason is that we don't have the structure which would have this right to, on the basis of our current legislation, to make it together, to get it together, because we have a lot of regulating authorized agencies. But but when the government says that we need to deplete it, we have 2 or 3 like check-ins. This is the main reason, and then we are going to speak about airdromes and the equipment, flying equipment. But as we have already mentioned, we have these landing strips, but we have aviation equipment, but it's usually imported or it's from the Soviet Union. We need to exploit it right, to know how to exploit it right, but then we are going to buy the new ones and to learn how to exploit it. And the financial support issue. So when I said about it, I was critiqued, but anyways, it's that. But what I am suggesting is that we need to make sure that the government sees that if we make an investment in it, we are going to get the great income from it. And if we develop our railway stations and railway transportation network, we don't have these aviational systems. Let's see what are the countries which are most developed here in the airway development. Okay, we don't have much time. So actually, a few weeks ago, I wasn't allowed to continue to go on with my report. But anyways, I can speak till my mic is off. So your mic is already off, and we can't listen to you till the end. I'm very sorry, we have another speaker. I would like to mention that the problematic that you have mentioned here is very, very bad. Because if we have some certification, and if you have some questions about certification, you can't get a straightforward answer, because some people don't even have this information. So this is why it's safe to say that some branches, different branches, have different understanding of such information, and they have different approaches, and they see their view as the only right one. And they don't understand that a lot of people in such government, in such branches, they can't even give good arguments, and on why they view it as such. So thank you very much. I totally agree with you. Thank you for the report. And actually, I would also like to know that we have this aviation company here in the area of Republic of Bashkortostan, and I hope that we are ready to solve all the problems together here. So, colleagues, I'm going to make it real fast, because our colleagues, I think, are going to get mad at us.
Коллеги, было очень интересно сегодня.
It was really interesting to be a part of such a discussion today, and having a large amount of people who worry about our country, and I think that we are going to develop in this way and to develop unmanned flights on the area of Republic, and whether you want it or not, we are going to follow this route. And my view on the situation is that starting with the presentation and having seen the materials from all the other people, we have seen a lot in common. So this is why I'm going to just conclude on some basic things. So on the basis of we have some initiatives which are connected to the unmanned flights and some other problems which we have already discussed. And they are not only about one region. This is about all the country in whole. And we usually hear to all the same problems and tendencies which are directed at changing the current situation. And key factors on development of the regional network. We have seen 6 of the main networks. They can come and they can go, but anyways, right now we have 6. The first one is a tendency on growing of the aviational flights, inter-regional flights. And even though we have problem with incoming flights, we anyway see this tendency. And what is going to happen to this tendency? We have already discussed here today with the colleagues. We are going to work in the futuristic development, and in the region, if we have the biggest problem with the airport, since we need to get more landing sites and terminals and stuff. And anyways, sometimes you don't even have this fully developed routes in order to get this traffic to the final point. And also, this is one of the points which could be the points of development of this regional communication, in which you can going out of the airport, going to the different destination point. And there is also some disproportion of using upper layer and lower layer of the sky, and we understand that the bigger planes use the upper one. And anyways, since we have more and more of the upper layer planes, we don't have much of a traffic. Anyways, also we have a different structure of transportational flows, in which we have different points which are the predispositions for using here in the Republic of Bashkortostan. We have discussed the Sibay city, and one of the options is related to the heavy traffic transportation, and we wanted to use unmanned flight for it. And as for manned flight and transportation, passengers transportation, we need to develop it even more. The next one is the development.
То есть мы видим серьезную зону роста в этой части, да, безусловно, по отдельным.
Development in different directions, but I hope that together with Ros Aviation we can solve this problem and make this model in which alone helps us not to be fully commercial and to get some services, other services. The fifth is the changing of the structure of the market and using the landing sites. This is going to develop our landing sites and emerging of new aviational machines, and it's going to be as a project for. It's going to develop our project. The sixth one is which is not of the least importance, is the emerging of we are going to get some regulations in usage of aviational space. We know that different people view it differently, and we have some federal projects. And of course, it's going to influence the policy of the government of the country. And we are going to get some landing platforms for such unmanned drones. And this is what we understand in the aviation as a whole. We have some predispositions for the development. There are two directions. First of all, are the drones or unmanned aircrafts. These are the aircrafts for solving some regional problems, and we are going to be optimistic on it. If we speak about the unmanned aircraft, we have some some projects which is supported by the president, and this national project has some different innovations, and we support this demand and also building of such. And we have said that the government government doesn't pay much attention to the aviational issues. But anyways, they actually pay their attention, but our colleagues don't like this point of view, because this is going to take away from the manned aircrafts issue. Also, we have this problem with the human resources issue. And since they work in the special military operation area, they have these skills of working with such unmanned aircrafts. Yes, there's different specifics. It's far away from this, from the passenger transportation. But anyway, these are the people who are learning how to work with the aerial space, and they are going to get back, and they are going to get to need other kind of jobs. And when they are going to create such a market, they are going to look for another job. This is about the human resources issue. Right now, we haven't experienced this issue. But anyways, this is quite a serious issue, and we need to understand how to make these people learn new things. Also, we have some predispositions about the agricultural sphere. Since we have agricultural holdings which are quite big, and they use such unmanned aircrafts. So yeah, there is such a practice, and
there are, once it started, it forms some percent of the market, and I think that it's a good perspective for these aircrafts, and we gonna need airstrips for these aircraft. It's because it's also needed for helicopters and other types, and these type of sites will be necessary, and will need to be formed infrastructure correctly. And since the point of view of aviation, it's a regulation of the aviation. We know that the head of the Russian aviation changed since last year, and it did not allow us to solve the issues that we used to have. But as for now, we are hoping and believe that the position would change, and this we like the trend, and we hope that segment that used to be non-prior will receive the priority, including the regulation. We do have plans of legislation and the use of the aviational transportation in tourism, and I have my own personal experience. We understand that we know the name of the 8 regions that say that we need that thing. We need a small plane that would take the tourists, will give them a flight around for 2 hours and would come back and would and probably he would pay them not 300,000 rubles, but for example 8,000. The regional airdromes that used to, and the regions that ready to use and develop, and it's a huge potential and a good quality of the manned aircraft. And we developed a practice of education of new private pilots. We have one of the huge educational centers. It's not that the amount of personnel is not that much students.
Эти 2 человека, так сказать, своими усилиями подготовили. Поэтому здесь тоже...
So that's why we predisposition. And some people do have money to find and fight. And we have that critical mass that are interested with each other to work together. There is a community, and the growth will be more than dynamic. And from the point of view of site development, we have the Space Valley called Protasova. And I wanted to share my experience, but it seems that we have no opportunity because colleagues look at us very seriously. But I wouldn't say that we have a piloting co-work here, and we do have that type of practice, and that people that organized, yes, of course, there's some list of organizing events that needs to be done, and all the conversation that is impossible because of something, they get blown away, and it all comes to that. We need to work hard and work carefully. And that's why we are ready to share our experience with you, and including the basics of the. And by 2025, we want to create scientific center by 2025. So we know that drones are not the enemies of the manned aircraft, and they also help at the airdromes. And as for now, we don't see the huge players who would study and work with the drones. We know that on the territory of Republic, we could start using these things, but not only using, but start developing and bringing the practice in implementing such things. And that would be one of the. And we could have given you like a short answer whether if it has advantage and it will profit us or not. And this is what it used to be, what is it now, and how it's going to be in the future. So because in the USSR there were a lot of air drones and airstrips, but by the 2023 they reduced drastically up to 2 areas. And we understand that more than half of the Republic was provided with aircrafts. So we understand that we need to come to something, and probably has to be not only a manned aircraft, but also the unmanned aircraft. And our colleagues do speak about 2030. I'm not sure that it would look like that by 2030, but this is something that we should aim to. So even the simple citizen could strive to ride aircraft, to take a ride on the aircraft, and even manned and unmanned. I also had the questions from my colleagues on the Ministry of Transportation that's happening with the regional network on the unmanned. It all goes to the national projects, and most of the regions do not understand what to do with it. And
And we need to understand our demand of our client, of our customer. We see that, we view that we need to set the year right. And this is our collateral work issue here. And we need to get this result, and we need to expand our network of the airports which are available on the territory of the region of the Republic of Bashkortostan, and to develop. This is also a question which is related to the emergence of economic exploitation of the aviational machinery on the territory of the region. And also this is a implementing of such aviational machines, and the creating of such a market in general. And I think in which aspect we could discuss for quite a few time, but if you don't have anything to add, I'm going to conclude this, because we had this opportunity to see your results. So I suggest you going further the resolution. Who is against? So people are all positive. Thank you very much for participating. And if you have some question, this is Andrei Bekidov, my colleague, who was going to speak on my presentation, on this presentation. But anyways, I took away this right of the speech from him. Thank you very much, colleagues, dear colleagues. Have a nice evening.